Hello, everybody. Welcome back to High and D Sports. My name's Ocean.
How's it? My name's John.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, on this episode, we're going to talk to you guys about kind of a variety of topics, but it all just centers around the fact that the NFL's regular season is over. Right, Week
Yep.
18 concluded on Sunday. It is now Tuesday. We're going to talk about some controversy, some wild card weekend predictions, a little bit of Washington stuff because we're biased towards Washington. But the first thing that I want to start out with, and it's obviously the biggest story of the weekend and the biggest
Right.
story of just football in general, right? Right now, we're gonna touch on Damar Hamlin, and we're gonna touch on that and some things. So, first thing I want to say on this note is I am so very happy for Damar
Yep.
Hamlin, his family, the Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals, the just that entire circle of people. I'm so happy that Damar Hamlin is now released from the hospital and back in Buffalo with
Yep.
his family. It's an
Yeah.
go
It's
ahead, go ahead.
just no. It's just it's an amazing sight to see,
Yeah,
and it seems like obviously we don't know the full extent of his injuries, but it just seems like maybe he came out of this, health wise as a person,
yeah.
pretty much unscathed.
I don't know that I would say unscathed, just because the trauma that his body went through is going to manifest itself for a while. Like, it's not like I would be. It would be amazing if he were to play football again. Period. And
Right.
the timeline for that, I have no idea. Um, so I'm just thankful that he's alive, that he's home, right? He's not in the hospital anymore. And from everything that we've been seeing for the past few days, he
Right.
is in good spirits, and everything is okay for now. And I think it's so
Right.
important that for me specifically, somebody that has a little bit of a medical background, I'm kind of shocked. Like, the fact that
Right.
he went through cardiac arrest on a football field at his age and was able to be revived uh, and awake, like brought back. Like, there's a
Right.
difference between getting somebody's heart rhythm back and them coming, like, waking up and being
Right.
conscious. There's a difference. So,
And it's a week later
yeah.
that he's being discharged.
Yeah, which is just incredible. So I just want to say that it's amazing. I'm super happy for you, Demar.
Yep.
I do want to touch on a few things about the story in general. Shout out to the coaching staff and the um, on-field. I guess we'll just call them medics for lack of knowing their official title statuses, but the people that responded to Damar Hamlin being on the field, they saved his life.
Right.
And
And there's a lot of controversy of or like conflicting reports of
right.
what I've seen on like Instagram and stuff like that. But the matter of fact is they did their job
Yeah,
and
what you mean is, like, there's
he
some
is okay.
people wondering why it took them so long to start CPR, but then there's conflicting reports on how long it actually took them to
Right.
start CPR and all
Right.
that stuff. And as somebody that has been in that situation, uh, like, I can understand from their perspective both ways. Like, if you had started CPR immediately, that's great because that's what you're trained to do. That's what you're trained to assess for. But if they didn't start it almost immediately, then it's kind of understandable because when you approach an injured player on a football field, your first instinct is to think about whether or not they're alive. Like,
Right.
that's not something that we have precedence for. So,
Right.
but like you said, in the end, Damar Hamlin is alive. He is well, and for whatever happened on that field, it saved his life, and
Right.
he wouldn't be here without the people that responded to him on that field. And I think I saw it. I saw this post on Instagram or Facebook or something, and it was one of the best, like, not explanations, but just way to outlook, I think, we should have on this whole situation is that Damar Hamlin loaned us his heart. Essentially, the post basically said Damar Hamlin loaned us his heart for 20 minutes on that field,
Right.
and what it did is it created this incredible, like, just sense of coming together across fans, across people, across nation states, everything. For that, when that happened, Damar Hamlin was the most, like, it was the biggest story in the world, and
Right.
there was so much support, so much love, so much. I mean, if you look at his charity and his GoFundMe that
Yeah.
he was raising for, I think the last time I looked at it, he had this charity GoFundMe thing set up before the injury happened, and it's like a toy drive for kids, and his goal was $2,500, which
Right.
is so to me it's like humble because he doesn't consider himself such a crazy person. So he was just looking for $2,500 to help bless kids. After he got injured, within I think it was within 3 hours, that GoFundMe had $4 million
Right.
donated to it, and last time I checked, it's over 7 million. He has over $7 million donated. So it speaks
Yeah.
to the fact that what happened was bigger than football, bigger than
Right.
two opposing teams fighting for better position in the playoffs, bigger than two individuals colliding and having this freak episode. So
Right.
I really think it's really cool that that was what happened around the world. You know what I mean?
Right. And it brought together, people not only on the football field, but it shocked a lot of people watching the game too. So
Yeah.
it gave them this like newfound appreciation for life in general.
Yeah.
Because like he could have lost his life on that field, and like
100%.
from like my point of view as like being a college football player, like I don't know what I would do if that happened to my teammate.
Yeah, yeah. Could
You
you
know,
imagine,
and
like, just looking at the emotion on both sidelines of that
right,
game? It was heart wrenching. Like watching Josh
right,
Allen sitting there with tears in his eyes and his hands over his face, just because everybody was in shock and everybody was just like, "What?" Like, because like I said, this was unprecedented.
right,
Nobody ever thought to themselves that they were going to watch a man fight for his life on that football field. So I can't imagine what it would have been like to watch my teammate go through that. And another
yeah,
person I do want to highlight, just because I have seen a few people speak negatively about it, and it's just because they're
yep,
idiots and looking for attention. But T Higgins,
controversy.
man, I hope and pray, T Higgins, that you are not holding this. Like holding yourself accountable for this,
Yep,
because I could very easily see why you would. I'm the kind
right,
of person that if I was the person that hit him, I probably would hold myself accountable as well. But I really hope you're not, man, because you there's nothing you could have
right.
done.
Well,
And
I have seen some things of where he worked really closely with the family. The family
yeah,
reached out to him and was like, "Hey, like, it's not your fault,"
which is just so great to
things
see,
like that.
because seeing some things from the general public where people were bashing him and stuff, it's ridiculous,
Yeah.
people. That's ridiculous.
And apparently he was receiving like death threats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. I
Yeah.
didn't really poke into it to see how legitimate that stuff was,
Yeah.
but there's always going to be the outliers of society that respond in
Right.
that way. Um,
Right.
but it is great to see that him and the family are a
Yeah.
okay and whatnot.
So, just with well, I was gonna say with every, with all the good stuff, there comes
Yeah,
some shaded parts, with some people who just don't understand the scope of things.
yeah,
And one person in particular is Skip Bayless, you
yeah.
know?
So we were toying around with whether or not we wanted to speak on this topic, because cancel culture is very real, and I don't want to
Right.
be part of that cancel culture, but I do believe in holding people responsible for their actions and for their words.
Right.
And when you have a situation like this, there is some leeway of, like, we get it, you're emotional, sometimes you say things that you don't really mean or whatever, we get it. So to be a little bit more clear, a few minutes after everything happened on the field, and it was announced that or not announced, or it was announced that the game was suspended, and everybody was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And in this day and age, everybody takes to Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff to voice their opinions, which you're 100% entitled to. But Skip Bayless took it upon himself to post a tweet
Right.
about 15 minutes after the incident happened, and while they were still like Damar Hamlin had kind of just left the uh, just left the whatchamacallit, sorry,
He
the
just left
field.
the field.
Yeah, and so uh, sorry, I'm trying to find the tweet because I want to make sure I read it verbatim so that I'm not paraphrasing or anything. I got
Right.
it right here. So he posted a tweet, and this is what it said. Quote, "No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game. But how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant." End quote. So
Right.
it this is the problem. What you said was wrong. And you can try and defend it all you want, but in that moment when there's somebody on the field fighting for their life, the thought of
Right.
the thought of what this game means to the arbitrary football realm is ridiculous. Like it
Right.
means nothing.
Irrelevant.
It means nothing. Football is a game that we play and that we enjoy and that we have fun with. On that field was life and death. That man could
Right.
have died on that field before everybody's eyes. Everybody would have
Right.
watched. Millions of people around the world would have watched Damar Hamlin die on that field if he had died. And you're over
Right.
here wondering how if the game is canceled is gonna impact the
Right.
the standings and stuff.
Right. And it has had impacts. It's had some impacts. There's
Sure.
controversy around that too. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Right.
matter. Like, I think for him, if I was talking to him directly, I'd tell him, like, put your shoes on that sideline.
Yeah.
If it was me and that happened to one of my teammates
I'd be
on
a
the sideline,
mess.
I would not be able to play. I would
There's
not.
no way. I'd be a mess. I'd be a mess emotionally, physically,
Especially
like
right.
everything.
Especially because in the NFL they have doctors,
Yeah.
physicians, all kinds of stuff on the sideline. In college, you have couple athletic trainers on both
Yeah.
sides.
At the
Like
level that you play at. Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. So like or if that happened in high school, like
Right.
a lot of high schools don't have that, and it could happen at
100%.
any level.
What happened to the Mark could have happened to anybody on any football field.
Right.
Right?
Even though it was a
Yeah,
freak
cool.
accident, it
Yeah.
could happen to anyone.
So it's okay, Skip. Like it's okay that you had those thoughts. It's okay.
Right.
Like everybody has a different their brain works different. So it's okay that you had those thoughts. What's not okay is that you chose to voice them on a platform that is intended for you to gain attention and people and for you to have influence on people. So
Right.
it's not okay for you to post that. Okay. Now, cancel culture, like normal cancel culture, would have jumped on you and ended you right there, which some people did. I mean, there was an uproar over it.
Right.
But where we in cancel culture differ is like, okay, you said something that wasn't right, and you being a person of major influence within the sports world, wasn't right, and you were wrong. What should have happened is he should have apologized or just come out saying like, I understand what I did was wrong and I'm sorry, and
Right.
I'm going to make sure that in the future I'm more sensitive and aware to what I'm saying and the impact that it has on people. But Skip Bayless goes on his show Undisputed, and which I should point out that Shannon Sharp was not there for for that episode,
Right.
and he defends his argument, or he defends his tweet.
Right. And it wasn't it wasn't even a backhanded apology
No.
either. It wasn't like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I truly believe in what I said." It was I don't even think he apologized at all. He just said,
No.
"I'm going to be here and defend myself."
No,
And
he said that he thinks that people he thinks that people
right.
misinterpreted or misunderstood his tweet and that he's going to stand by what he said because at the end of the tweet he said all that, which all seems irrelevant now. That that's not an apology. That's you
Right.
just saying that you don't think you did anything wrong in a polite
Right.
way.
Right. And he has other controversies going on with his co-host right now.
Right.
And that's a whole bigger different story. But to me it seems like the kind of situation where you say something wrong and maybe you believe it's the truth, but ultimately you hurt someone, you hurt people, what you said was wrong.
Yeah.
And instead of apologizing, you're like, "Oh, well, you know, what everyone
Was
thinks
no,
what I said
yeah.
was wrong, but whatever."
Yeah, it's not okay. At the end of the day, you're you, you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to free speech, and you are known as somebody that says controversial things, right? That's what your
Right.
entire brand has been built around, and what your show is about, basically.
Right.
However, there has to be a line that is too far. Otherwise,
Right.
otherwise we're just uncivilized, right? There has
Right.
to
And it,
be a point where what you said was too far. And in my
right.
opinion, that was the line.
Right. And I think he's crossed the line multiple times within
Yes.
the past few weeks. And I don't know if it's, him acting out or, he's just getting old, so he don't know, he losing his mind a little bit, but
I don't know.
he he just, the comments that he said to Shannon Sharp on air,
Yeah.
where Shannon Sharp didn't want to go on the show anymore. And then Shannon Sharp returned to the show
Hmm.
and tried to give his opinion on the Damar Hamlin
Right.
situation, the tweet situation, and Skip Bayless couldn't even give him the floor for like
Yeah.
five
Because
minutes.
he mentioned Skip
He
Bayless's tweet, and then Skip like interrupted him and was like, "Whoa, we thought we were gonna talk about that." Blah 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 blah.
right.
Come on, man! Like you can't
So
let him talk for a few minutes
right,
about his opinions and why he was hasn't been on the show for weeks. Like you
right,
gotta, you're doing all of these wrong things consecutively, and at a certain
right,
point, like what is too much? I
right,
I don't have that answer. I'm not going to sit here and call for the firing of Skip Bayless and the removal from
right,
his show and stuff. I just think there has to be accountability, and if he were to come out and apologize and be like, "Hey, you know what? I've thought about it. People have talked to me. In the end, what I think I did was wrong, and I'm sorry. This and that and that." I think it would be okay. I think that would be enough for
right,
me. But I do think that like this is the kind of thing where we have to hold people accountable, and
right,
nothing is really being done other than people putting it on social media.
right.
So
And yeah, I think they have to be. Well, everyone has to be held accountable in general,
right,
but people who have great influence, people who are respected within communities,
yeah,
like they have to, I'm not saying they have to be disciplined, but they have to be held accountable for what they say and what they do. And like I think it's just a lot different because it was life and death on that field,
yeah,
because everything, that's all sports broadcast, sports
right,
network people are these days, apart from maybe like a few, like Rich Eisen isn't really that controversial of a
yeah,
person, but they thrive off of controversy.
right.
That's what gets their viewers up.
But there, like
That's
I
the whole
said, there
point.
has to be a
Right.
line. There has to be a point
Right.
where it's too far, and you saw it across all other commentators, analysts, anybody that was on air at the time, or 99% of other people that tweeted or Instagram posts or whatever. Like, there. Last thing I do want to just say on this is kind of like we talked about what was wrong, right? We talked about how the fact that Skip Bayless was wrong, what he said was wrong, but I want to give an example of what I think was right and the right way to have approached the 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 situation. So, RG3 has made himself a pretty prominent person within the football world within the last couple of
Yep.
years after he stepped away from the game, and he's now an analyst on Thursday Night Football. Right? Is it Thursday night or is it Monday night? No, it's Thursday night.
It's
It's
yeah,
Thursday
I think
night
it's
with
Thursday night.
because he's with Matt Fitzpatrick and then all those other guys, right?
Yep.
So he's he's made himself now he has influence, and maybe not quite as much as Skip Bayless, but he's there, right? He's got that influence. He's got that audience. RG3 posted a photo of the Bills team in a circle, praying for DeMar shortly after he left the field, and his caption said, "Please don't post any videos of the actual incident, like the actual hit, or of CPR being conducted on DeMar Hamlin. Instead, post these kinds of pictures because this is what actually matters right now. This is what we need to focus on."
Right.
And that to me is how you, as a influential person that uses social media platforms to further your brand or whatever, this is how you approach this kind of situation. So, I'm not saying RG3 is perfect, but that's what I wanted to see
Yeah.
from people that have that kind of influence.
Yeah, a distinct difference in how people reacted to things.
Yeah.
But with what we said, to go on to a lighter note,
Well, I mean, then again, Skip Bayless is a Cowboys fan, so
right? So that's why it's a lighter note for us.
yeah,
Skip Bayless is a Cowboys fan, and as Washington fans, we already have a rivalry. I guess I wouldn't say that we already don't like Skip Bayless, but more of a rivalry.
sure.
And man, did we spank the Cowboys?
Yeah. I don't know how you can look at what happened during that game as anything else but a mollywop. But
Good old fashioned butt whooping. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's at the level of mollywop.
No?
I think if we scored more points,
yeah,
if we scored the points that we left on the board or off the board,
right, we left a good
think-
21 points off the board.
I think that you can call it a mollywop. But I would say it's about the level of a good old fashioned butt whooping.
Yeah, we did, and it was great to see. It was great to see Washington in full form. Maybe not full form, but their defense was on one that night. Like
Right.
they weren't letting anything. They had the
Right.
one touchdown, and that was it. After that,
They had a one touchdown and
they shut
shouldn't have
down.
been a touchdown.
They shut down the Dallas offense, the high-powered offense that's supposed to be a contender for the Super Bowl, and we shut them down. It was great.
With a lot of young
Yeah.
people who get their first
Backups.
opportunity. Khaleke Hudson.
We were missing our star of the defense, Jonathan Allen, in the interior.
Right.
We were missing Jamin Davis, a up-and-coming second-year player that has shown a lot of improvement this year. And during the game, we lost. We didn't lose, but Kenneth Fuller kind of got shaken up. We didn't have Benjamin
we
St.
lost
Juste.
Jonathan Ridgway.
Oh yeah, we did. And
He hurt his shoulder.
Benjamin St. Juste didn't play, so we were it was a defense that wasn't entirely healthy, but we rocked them.
Yeah, and
It
I
was
don't know.
great.
I don't know where he came from because I don't remember seeing him on the roster. But apparently, we have a Polynesian guy on our interior
Oh yeah,
defensive line.
yeah.
So-
He was brought onto the roster. I'm pretty sure he was put on the practice squad after.
Fedarian Mathis. went
Yeah,
down.
pretty sure he
Yeah.
was put on the practice squad. Then he was elevated because of Jonathan Allen going
Yeah.
down.
Hey man,
Yeah.
Polynesians on the field.
Unfortunately, it was too little, too late, and Washington is not going to make the playoffs despite,
Yep.
having a big midseason push, and so we
Right.
didn't make the playoffs. But this weekend is the wild card weekend, right?
Yep.
It's a super wild card weekend. This is the first round of the playoffs. We got 6 games this weekend.
Yep.
2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 Monday night, and it's going to be interesting. Let's walk through these matchups and the seeding and whatnot and talk about when they are.
Yep.
So Saturday, January 14th, starting at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the 7th seed Seattle Seahawks playing the 2nd seed San Francisco 49ers. This
Yep.
is going to be an interesting game, in my opinion, because this is going to be the game that sets the tone for the San Francisco 49ers
Yep.
playoff run, right? They have a very young quarterback that, we've seen a lot of great things in the last half of the season, but, there's always the question of, okay, well, how does he perform in the playoffs? How does the pressure of the playoffs how does he handle
Right.
that?
Right, and on top of this, on top of the game, the pressure, it is still a rivalry game.
100%. It's a
First.
divisional game, too.
Right, it's the divisional rivalry game. I mean, how many times within recent history has there been a San Fran Seahawk game that's meant something in the playoffs or
Yeah.
meant something late in the season? And the 49ers beat the Seahawks twice this year, right?
Yep.
Pretty sure.
I'm
And
pretty sure.
Geno Smith, he set the all-time passing record in Seattle this year.
How's that, man? First
I
year
know.
Russell Wilson is gone and he sets the record.
And they had a great start to the season, and then fell off, and then they just crawled their way back in
Yeah.
at the last moment. Like, I'm not saying the Seahawks are gonna win, but I feel like this is a much closer game than it looks on paper.
I would 100% agree, and that's why I think it's so important because I think Seattle is going to surprise some people, but at the same time, the 49ers have all of the tools to make a Super Bowl run.
Right.
But the question is whether or not Brock Purdy can utilize those tools effectively to make
Right.
it happen. And that's what we're going to find out. I think that's what we're going to find out on Saturday is because if San Fran comes out and they keep rolling like they did the last half of the season, I'm not sure who's going to be able to stop them. So we'll see what happens on that. The other game that's on Saturday that is at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time is an AFC wildcard game between the fifth-seeded Los Angeles Chargers and they are playing at the fourth-seeded Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep. Jacksonville Jaguars completely changed their season around.
Crazy. Insane. I don't
Yep.
think anybody expected them to be in the playoffs. I surely did not.
They peaked at the right moment.
yeah, it's
They
just-
got healthy.
It's just one of those
Yeah.
any given Sunday, like in the beginning
Yeah.
of the season, everybody thought, oh, here we go, Jacksonville again. They're going to be bottom 5 teams in the NFL, and they're going to, whatever. Up until I would say week 9, week 9 or
Yeah.
10, that was kind of the
Even
thought.
yeah, even later than that. I mean,
Yeah.
they had to win their last game of the season just to make the playoffs. People know that. Winning your in situation, but the Jags making the playoffs is obviously it's a testament to how bad the NFC or the AFC South is,
Yeah.
but they are peaking at the right time.
They
Their
did-
defense, the defense is stepping up a little bit, and yeah.
No, you're right. They did benefit from a lackluster AFC South. However, there's been some very bright spots on that team that,
Yep.
if they continue to progress in the way they are, then, hey, I could see
Right.
this game being close. The
Yeah.
Chargers were my pick in the AFC to make the Super Bowl this year at the beginning of the season. And they haven't performed the way that I thought they were, but they're also a team that is kind of up and coming right now. They suffered a lot of injuries in the beginning of the season, and they dealt with some issues throughout the middle, but they've kind of steadily progressed to this last quarter of the season, and I think they're kind of at full strength right now.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. I actually would probably say that I think the Chargers are the most underrated team in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I would agree. 'Cause, did they get Rashawn Slater back this week? Is he coming back? I'm not.
I think it's either this week or next week, but
Yeah.
I think that the Chargers, the last few games that they played this season, they just looked better.
Right.
Even though they might have been in tight games, but they just looked better. They looked poised.
Yeah.
I mean, they clinched a playoff berth before the last week of the season. So I think that the Chargers, they look good. The Jags are trending in the right direction right now. So
Should be a fun game.
yeah, it's gonna be a fun game. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be close, but I think it's gonna be a fun and interesting game to watch.
All right. Well, for Sunday, we got 3 games: 2 AFC games and 1 NFC game. The first game is going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be between the 7th-seeded Miami Dolphins and the 2nd-seeded Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. This is actually a repeat of 2 other games this season. And it's interesting that this is another divisional rival game that's happening in the playoffs. The real question is Tua playing?
Man, I don't know. 4 concussions in one season.
Yeah.
Should he be playing?
No,
Probably
he shouldn't.
not.
I don't think he will. It should be. But I could see how that like they might try and
Right.
push him to get through
Right.
the push him to get through the protocol in order to play, because let's face it, the Dolphins are a not a very good team without Tua Tagovailoa. They
Right.
beat the New York Jets by 3 points because all they could do was kick field goals, both teams. So
Right.
maybe their defense isn't too bad without him, but that offense really suffered from Tua Tagovailoa not being in there, especially since he's been out. And then in addition to that, um, I know that Tyreek Hill was also injured during that game. I don't know if his
Yep.
injury is going to affect him playing in this game, but uh,
I
it's not
I
looking
just
good for
don't.
the
For me
Dolphins.
personally, the Bills were my pick for the AFC.
Yeah,
I think, especially with what happened recently, and that if you look at like some of the history of the Buffalo Bills, at least the past 2 seasons, there's just so much, like they just feel like a team of destiny to me. And they could fall short, but I don't see this being a without, especially without Tua. I don't think seeing this being in competition at all.
yeah. I mean, they do have a pretty decent backup quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, but there's a reason why Teddy is a backup. And I if we're looking at it on paper, if they're without Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill, it looks like the little bit of research I just did, it looks like Tyreek Hill is going to play, but it's just doesn't look good for the Miami Dolphins,
Yep.
unfortunately, especially with the Buffalo Bills riding on the love and support wave that they've gotten from the DeMar Hamlin situation. Like you said, they just seem like they're the team that's just gonna go. There ain't no stopping them.
Yep.
The next game on Sunday is the NFC game, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, between the sixth seeded New York Giants and the third seeded Minnesota Vikings. Uh,
This is a tale of what team is going to show up.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
you're right.
Is Kirk Cousins going to show up?
Is 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins showing up, or is primetime Kirk Cousins showing up?
Right. And is early season Saquon showing up,
Yeah.
or late season Saquon showing up?
Yeah, or just
And I
late
think-
season Giants in general.
Yeah. And it's like, the Giants won a few games late in the season. Obviously, they beat Washington, but
Yeah,
the
well,
Giants, they earned their way there. I'm not gonna
Sure.
run around the bush with that, but this is probably the most unknown game of the whole weekend to me, just because
Yeah.
you don't know which Vikings team is gonna show up,
And which
you don't know
Giants
which
team.
Giants team is gonna show up. If you look at it on paper, the Vikings should win.
They should, but
But to me, this is a 50-50 game, right? From my eyes.
yeah, 100%. Like you said, it's a toss up of just who's gonna show up, which team is gonna show up and actually perform at their capability.
Yeah.
All right, last game on Sunday, the AFC game, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, is between the 6th-seeded Baltimore Ravens and the 3-seeded Cincinnati Bengals. Biggest question of this game is whether or not Lamar Jackson is playing.
Yep. I don't know the answer to that question.
I'm trying to
but
look it up right now. I can't get a definitive
Man,
answer.
the Bengals have won 8 games in a row.
The Bengals have been on a tear throughout this last
Yep.
half of the season. They have been killing it. So
Yep.
I'm not
get
sure.
their-
Looks like it's a PCL injury for Lamar, but I'm not seeing anything either way, whether he's not going to play or he is going to play. There's also a little
Yep.
bit of off the field, I would say, issues with this, because Lamar Jackson has been vying for a contract for the last 2.5 years, right?
Yep.
And
And the Ravens just
And the-
extended
yeah.
Roquan Smith.
who has only played half a season for him, and they gave him a $100 million contract.
Right.
And they have yet to lock up a quarterback that was was the MVP of the NFL and has taken them to the
Right.
playoffs every year that he's been on their team.
Yep.
Except for his first year, which he only
Well,
played
every year he's been a full-time starter.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think Lamar Jackson is the kind of guy that would sit out because of a contract dispute. I don't think
Yeah.
that's the kind of guy that he is, just based off of the fact that he's continued to play for the Ravens throughout, this whole
Yep.
contract issue. But I could understand there being a mental aspect of like, hey man, like you guys just paid Roquan Smith, how come you can't pay me?
Right.
Issue. So
But
I kind of
despite
want to
all
see
that,
him walk though, if I'm being honest, because if he walks, that's somebody that maybe Washington can go grab.
yeah,
So
I think despite if Lamar Jackson plays, despite whatever, I see the Bengals winning this game.
I
Plain
yeah,
and
I
simple.
I think Cincinnati is 100% the better team and more than likely going to win. However, if Lamar Jackson is on that field, he's one of those guys that you can't count out. You cannot
Yeah.
count the Ravens out with Lamar Jackson on that field. All right, ladies and gentlemen, last game of the week is going to be Monday, January 16th. The last NFC game is going to be at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time between the fifth-seeded Dallas Cowboys and the fourth-seeded Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the game that I'm kind of the most excited for because, for one, Tom Brady made it to the playoffs with a losing record, and it's his first losing record as being a starter of
Right.
a football team. But they still made the playoffs, and he still
Yeah.
has a lot of good pieces around him. And
Yeah.
it's Tom Brady, man. I don't.
Can't count.
You
You
can
cannot count out Tom
never
Brady.
count out Tom Brady. The fact that he made the playoffs because of a lackluster NFC South is, you can argue that all day, but at the end of the day, they're in the playoffs and they're playing a Dallas Cowboys team that just got their butts handed to them by a team that didn't even make the playoffs,
Yeah.
Washington. So if Tampa Bay looks at that film and they're able to exploit the same weaknesses that we did, that Washington did, and Tom Brady can do his thing, I don't see why they couldn't win this game and continue on through the playoffs. Do I see them being a Super Bowl contender? Not really, but I could definitely see the Dallas Cowboys choking yet
Yep.
again.
Yep. I think that after playing us, they just don't look good.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, but
Dak Prescott is not it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a hot take right now, ladies and gentlemen. Hot take. I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna stand by it. Dak Prescott is not the answer for the Dallas Cowboys. The dude leads the NFL in interceptions. He missed 5 games,
yep.
and he leads the
He threw-
NFL in
He
interceptions.
threw a pick six. For
Yeah.
us.
So, he is not it, ladies and gentlemen. He's not it. But to wrap up this video, let's go through these games real quick and give our predictions on who's going to win. And
Yep.
do you want to do scores, or you want to just keep it to who's going to win?
Let's do predictions for all, but we can each choose one game that we want to predict the
the
score.
score for a tiebreaker. All right.
Yep.
All right. So Saturday, first game, Seattle versus San Fran. What you got?
I can't go against the 49ers.
All right. John chooses 49ers. I'm also going to choose the 49ers. I think that their team is just too built. Even if Brock Purdy doesn't play the best, that
Yep.
defense is just ridiculous. So,
Yep.
AFC game, Los Angeles Chargers versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who you got?
This is besides the Giants Vikings, this is the hardest game for me to pick. I think I'm gonna take the controversial pick. I'm gonna go with the Jags here.
Interesting. I'm going to go with the Chargers because, like I said, they were my
Yep.
Super Bowl pick from the beginning of the year before the season started. So I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think that they take the W.
Yep. I think that Chargers are probably the better team overall.
You never
they
know.
have every reason to win, but I think the Jags are peaking at the right time right now, and they I think they're gonna pull off an upset this week.
All right, Sunday, first game of the day, Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills.
Bills.
Yeah, this is
Easy
to
as
me.
that.
This is the easiest game to pick. Now, Dolphins could win, but the Bills just got
Yep.
too much going for them. Too much momentum, too much energy. Like you said, team of destiny, man. All right, second game of the day, New York Giants versus the Minnesota Vikings.
Man, I can't vote for the Giants, so I'm gonna go Vikings.
All right. I'm gonna vote for the Giants. And I'm only gonna vote for the Giants because the game is not being played at 1 p.m., so I don't know whether Kirk Cousins is gonna show up. So I'm gonna go
That's
Giants
funny.
in an upset ish win against the Vikings. Last game of the day is the Baltimore Ravens versus Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep, I got the Bengals.
Yeah, unfortunately I got the
Yep.
Bengals. Even if Lamar plays, I got the Bengals. They're another team that's just peaking at the right time. All
Yep.
right, last game of the day, January 16th, Dallas Cowboys. Or sorry, last game of the weekend on Monday, Dallas Cowboys versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who you got, John?
Bucks, man. Bucks all the way.
Yeah,
Tom
I
Brady.
I cannot vote for the Cowboys. Sorry, and
Yep.
I really do think that taking the fact that they just got their butts handed to them by Washington, and that it's Tom Brady in the playoffs,
Yep.
I'm going Buccaneers. Okay, what's your
Yep.
one
I
game that
agree.
you want to predict the score for?
I'm gonna predict the score for. Let's predict the score for the Seahawks versus 49er game.
Ooh, okay, that's an interesting pick.
I'm gonna go 27-21.
27-21, a close game.
Yep.
Okay.
Close game.
All right. I'm going to go Bills Dolphins game, and I'm going to say that Bills put up 35 points to a Miami Dolphins 14.
Okay.
I'm going to go a 21 point favorite on them. Yeah.
Yep. I can definitely see that happening.
100%.
Yep. And okay, so for the last thing
Yep.
to talk about for the playoffs, like we said earlier in the episode, there's some controversy for some things.
Yeah.
I
Based out
know
of the
that
fact that the Bengals and the Bills game was
right,
canceled after the
right.
incident with DeMar.
And I know there's gonna be a lot of talk about it when it gets closer, and I feel like I don't want to I don't want to have an opinion about it because it's gonna
Yeah.
happen either way. But I just want to get it out there right now in this
Yep.
episode. Is like, based off of what I've seen, if the Chiefs and the Bills make it to the AFC Championship, it will be played at a neutral site because the Bills had a chance to get the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's the most logical thing because I truly believe I think the Bills are going to win that game. If the game had played out, I think the Bills would have won the game, and so I think they would have ended up the number 1 seed. And I think there's got to be a sense of fairness and whatnot. So I think that if it ends up a Bills Chiefs NFC championship or sorry AFC championship, then it's got to be a neutral site. But also, I think they need to find a site that is like neutral in distance as well, because
Yeah.
neutral just because it's a stadium that doesn't belong to either team doesn't necessarily take away the home field advantage. Because if you play the game
Right.
at like let's say Mile High, right? That's a couple hour drive, not couple hour, but it's a short trip to from Kansas City and all of their fans to get to
Right.
that versus Buffalo. But same is to be
Right.
said if you played it at like Gillette Stadium uh, up
Jersey.
in
Yeah.
Jersey or a New York Stadium, right? Like it would be the same thing. So I think you got to find a stadium or a place to play it that is neutral, both in the fact that neither team own it or belong to it, but also distance wise to give a fair advantage
Right.
for that home field.
What do you feel? How do you feel about weather? You think that weather is a distinct advantage for the Bills?
I think that they are. I don't think so. I don't think so because you can make a case for it because the Bills play in Buffalo in an open air stadium and Buffalo is known for harsh weather and all that. But let's be honest, the Bills team is not built for cold weather. They rely on Josh
Yeah.
Allen to move the ball through his arm and through his legs. So the team isn't built for cold weather. So I don't think that it's necessarily a distinct advantage for one team or the other. And Kansas City is not necessarily a nice and warm place either. You know, they get harsh weather too. So
Yeah.
I don't think that weather should really be taken into consideration unless it's going to be like if there's like a snowstorm or whatever that they're playing at that would prevent the game from being played normally. But
Yep.
that's only a
Yeah, I agree.
consideration, I would say. However, what I will say is I don't think we're going to end up with a Bills Chiefs game. I like I said, I really think the Chargers are going to the Super Bowl. So we may not even have to worry about the fact that they need to find a neutral site.
That is true. That is very true. I also could see the Bengals beating the Chiefs again.
True.
So
100%. Joe Burrow has not lost to Patrick Mahomes.
that is true. That is true.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys joining us for this episode. Thank you for going along with us on this journey. We're very curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on the variety of topics that we talked about. Please let us know down in the comments below. We really want to make sure that this is a community and not just me and John talking back and forth. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear your opinions. And like we said in our intro and stuff, we're more than willing to hear you out. And if there's potential for you to convince us otherwise. We're not experts. We're not people that aren't willing to change our mind if presented with real stuff. So
yeah, and also we have maybe like an open slot next week or the next few weeks coming up to film something that maybe we're not too expertish in, but that we could dive into and give our honest opinions about some things. Like we have a few slots coming up. I mean, there's like we said, there's a lot of sports starting up and a lot of sports ending.
Yeah.
So
if there's a topic that you would like to see us discuss and do some research on and learn about, please let us know down in the comments below. We'd love to do an episode on it for you guys.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. Thank you guys for all the love and support you've been giving us recently. Check out our social media links in the description below, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Deuces.